What is up, Internet Land? We are back. It's a Prep Pastors podcast. My friend, the real Phil, up in Alaska, and I'm the real Kirk, hanging out, coming from you somewhere in the Ozarks. How you doing, brother?
Good. Yeah.
Right on. Good, good, good.
I'm not,
Uh,
I'm not in the Middle East. Yeah. Any
okay.
day you're not in the Middle East is a good day.
I'm not in the Middle East. Very happy about that. I will say I did have some friends just get back home from the Middle East. They had a wonderful time. They didn't get murdered. They didn't have to murder anyone else. They were very happy.
That is how we qualify days these days. Like I didn't have to shoot anybody yet today. So
Yet,
so far,
yet.
good day.
That's
Uh,
true. But I mean,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
ready. I mean, if I have to, I'm ready. But with my
indeed.
very
Oh,
dusty.
that you beat me for showing off firearms in our show. That's unacceptable.
Well, I've just
All
figured
right.
we're
Well, I can't
fully
get to
trying to
it.
get kicked off of YouTube at this point. So
Let's do it. Yeah, the other one's in my pocket, and I'm not going to get up to that.
no, I understand. But no, I think that
Plus, it's just one of those throwaway planes anyway.
I've always I've always wanted to visit the Holy Land. I've always wanted to go and see. I've wanted to put my feet in the dirt that Jesus and Paul walked in, and all those things. Like I think that would be wonderful. I'm very jealous. I just met with another friend today that's got a Israel trip coming up. I'm very excited for. I have a friend that just got back for his birthday present. I think it was his 65th or 60, I think it's his 65th birthday. He just got to go to Israel with his wife and some friends, and that's really really wonderful. I don't have a lot of desire to travel internationally right now, at all. I'll figure when
Which
Jesus
includes
comes back.
Canada.
Yeah, that includes Canada. I figure when Jesus comes back and makes all things new, I get to see the Holy Land whenever I want. So, that's that'll be kind of nice. But
Just a thought. What will global tourism look like in like the millennial reign and
mm,
once all things are new? I mean, I don't know.
glorified body. Maybe we get to fly. I don't know. Maybe we get to go full Kenneth Copeland at that point. We get to fly. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've never heard him talk about that on a YouTube sermon,
It's
you're missing out.
that guy.
It's
That
entertaining.
guy is like one of the largest
His
pieces of
facial
shit on the
features
planet.
go with, yeah, but he can act and he can
It's true.
preach.
It's true.
Yeah, which his preaching is all an act. So, you know,
Oh, 100%, 100%.
appreciate it
But
more. Yeah.
I say all that about Israel because yesterday
Uh-huh.
I watch a lot of mountain biking videos on YouTube. Okay, I love
Yeah.
it's and there evidently are some incredibly awesome mountain biking trails in Israel. I mean, they look like some of the most deadly trails in the world, but
Well, it's desert.
and it's the ride from, I think, Anan to the Dead Sea. So that's 3,000 feet above sea level and then 1,200 feet below sea level. So it's just a, you know, 4,200 foot descent downhill ride on like the most jagged, rocky, I mean, just like, it just looks like an absolute blast, and a spectacular way to die.
Yeah. No, I figure it's probably a lot like Death Valley. I've been to Death Valley. No.
Yeah.
I'm very interested with you. I'm interested in seeing the actual places of uh, so much biblical history that I value and I study and learn from, and so yeah, I'm interested in that. I also would like to someday go and experience and see, um, you know, the Angelus Temple. I haven't been there since, in my memory. I've been there as a child. I haven't been there since I can remember.
Yeah.
And that's in my own country, and I really don't intend on
That's not
going
that's not true.
anytime
Cal,
soon.
I don't think California is in our country anymore.
Well, I mean, my passport says that it is. Beyond
That's
that,
true.
I do
Yeah.
I do have to present a passport to fly there. So, because this whole real ID thing, I don't know. And pretty soon, look forward to it. It's only like 2 months away. We'll be implementing this digital currency that's mandated and required, and you're not gonna be able to do those things unless you have an account and are participating in the system and letting them, oppress you in that way.
I want it.
I'm still undecided as to it's all nothing
You
good,
just
but
you
yeah,
just
no, we're just
highlighted.
jumping right in.
Yeah, you just jumped
Although I
into
skipped
one
over
of one of the most important things I wanted to talk about today, and that is Fed Now. I was really looking forward. You're a finance guy.
have
You're
you
an you're an
no,
economist.
no, that yeah, no, I'm not. Uh, I'm not.
Well,
But
okay, you're a
I mean,
part. You're connected to one. You're connected to one. But
yeah,
I want to hear.
my side is money side of things. I make money telling businesses are doing everything wrong. Um,
Right.
but I we don't know a lot. They're purposefully keeping the details hidden. But
Yeah.
if you're not aware, you should be aware that was it bank number 4 yesterday collapsed. It's actually a somewhat prominent bank in the Northwest. So if you've ever banked in Oregon or Washington, you maybe have heard of oh, where is it? I'm going to forget. Here it is, First Republic Bank,
I've heard of it.
and in the banking, if we're going to talk about the economy a little bit, in the banking world, when a bank fails, so like when the ultra elite Democrat Silicon Valley Bank failed, and all of their Democrat friends in DC said, "Don't worry, we got you, fam," and ignored our own FDIC rules and did what they want and covered their millions.
Yep.
Which, by the way, this is what we call money laundering.
Yes.
Um, they laundered the money to the Democrat politicians, who then turned around and said, "Yeah, don't worry, we got you." Uh, so the assets of that bank, when they were auctioned off, the best prices they were getting was about 50 cents on the dollar, which is eye raising because typically banks kind of cover their own. We, shuffle money here, shuffle money there. In the case of Wells Fargo, create new accounts for people that don't know it. Um, Kind of help split their money for them because they're too stupid to know any better. And we get 75, sometimes even 80%. Obviously troubled assets, but these are supposed to be well-performing loans, well-performing assets, things that are not really in trouble. The bank's in trouble, the asset's not. Uh, not so. The best they were doing was like 50% on the dollar, and First Republic Bank is unable to even get that. So much so concerned that the Fed has started to release press releases and rumbles within the industry that probably the U.S. government is going to have to just buy the bank. And by buy
Right.
the bank, we mean they're going to say this bank is ours now. Um, so, you got an earthquake?
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that.
Uh, Look like you're having an earthquake over there. Anyway, so
Earthquake.
this is really bad news when it comes to the banking industry. Again, we can't keep having banks collapse like this. It affects us all. Um, in similar news, Jerome Powell, if you don't know who he is our Fed chairman, which is, the whole Jekyll Island monstrosity thing.
Right.
Um, I just read this morning, I woke up to the news, and what was said is that some Russian hackers managed to spoof their way into a phone call with him, acting as if they were um, Zelensky from Ukraine.
Oh.
And they recorded and released a bunch of what he said to them.
That's fantastic.
So
Oh, that's
what
great.
everybody's freaking out over is actually not something to freak out over. Maybe you'll freak out. I don't know. If you've been listening to me, I have been saying for well over a year, I think coming close to 2, like literally since the beginning of this show, hey, the Fed's going to raise interest rates, right? Blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a
Yes.
2 to 3 year process, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Maybe I haven't explained on this show, but I've certainly explained on some of my other shows and to my clients that the whole reason for doing interest rates that they are talking about. You just have to understand the words that they're saying. They're trying to create a recession
Right.
because a recession is one of the ways to solve this inflation problem. A
Correct.
recession is a way to massively reset and correct a lot of the super inflated, overpriced things like a lot of real estate.
Right.
It's actually not the real estate itself that's typically overvalued, it's the improvements.
Yes.
So, side note, real estate itself is a pretty stable investment nearly all the time, with some exceptions. It's the improvements upon that real estate that are really not supposed to appreciate. Typically, you build it new, then they slowly depreciate. But in the world of wacko money and smoke and mirrors and a whole lot of like real estate broker lies, uh, those values continue to just get artificially inflated over and over and over. And the Clintons kind of really snowballed that effect with their mandatory loans for unqualified people. And the more that the government gets involved in the valuation of a property, which they have every right to do because they're the ones making the loan. You go to a bank, but you're not borrowing the money from the bank. You're borrowing money from the U.S. government, which is why when everybody says you don't own your home, the government owns your home. It's not just that tax lien that's forever there. It's because the majority of you went and got a USDA or an FHA or some other type of subsidized loan. And the US federal government owns your property, not you. And there's all sorts of hidden language in there that you really wouldn't like if you
Absolutely.
had actually read it. So
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of no mortgage. Get out from underneath it. Go to a traditional local bank. Get a real loan where they lend you their money. If you have to be conservative, try to owe less than 50% of what your place is actually worth. Right? Be careful. Um,
It's true,
Downsize, live
but
within your means. Move into a trailer. Do what you got to do. With that said, all of this is leading into what happened. So get back to the point here. I've been saying that the Fed is creating a recession because that's what they do, because in
right.
history, that is what corrects inflation. They are
Correct.
desperately trying to fix their screw ups. Um, and we'll see if they can do it. But what they recorded Jerome Powell saying is that they were trying to create a recession and they're going to continue to increase interest rates until the recession is strong enough to get the
Right.
desired effect. Then we will solve the recession. Um, so, yet to be seen. I haven't listened to all the recordings. I've only even heard or seen a fraction. And who knows? Again, we live in a world of AI and Russian hackers, believe it or not, are not people, but we should trust. They're not the most honest people. They don't always relay the truth. They certainly have a vested interest to smear. So take all this with a grain of salt, but don't be super surprised when videos and probably mostly audio. I saw videos. I'm wondering how that happened, but um, when it surfaces that the Fed is saying we're trying to cause a recession, yes, they are. That is the purpose, and it's really not new news. So stop freaking out over it.
Yeah. No,
Now, what
I
we
think you're
know
absolutely right. Now
is
that
is going to
lead that
continue to happen
into
for the next couple of years. But how do you get
right.
out of a recession historically, right? What is our
Right.
favorite way for politicians to get out of recession? And you're right. That's exactly what this whole point is and why people freak out
Yeah.
because the timeline's not really adding up because we're already in World War III. Uh, so they're kind of screwing it up because we haven't had enough of a recession to fix the problems yet. We are in a recession because that was the
Right.
other thing that came out today. uh, who's the entity? Somewhere, one of the government entities actually admitted that our GDP growth for the first quarter was only 1.1%. Now, um,
Absolutely.
typically we like to see 7 or 8 in a stable economy. In a growing economy, we see like 12, even
But
15
it
sometimes.
could
You know,
have
15
but
a
it
while.
at that
But
close, it's a
it
very
wasn't
close
bad.
margin to whether it was actually negative or not, right?
Well, as I said, it's certainly within. Usually, errors margin for those is about 3%. So, one and a half each way. Um,
Right.
it almost doesn't even matter because even if you go to the top or they're already at the top or we just assume even better from there, let's just say it was 3%. That's a
Right.
frightening GDP
Oh, it's
in
terrible.
itself. We're the value of our money is losing value, quicker than the commodities that it's supposed to purchase.
Right.
There's all sorts of problems with our money system. All that
Sure.
to say, we are in a depressed economy as a whole, as a nation, but
Sure.
we have been, and we knew this was going to happen. And the second we started printing money during COVID, we knew this was happening. It's always
Right.
been what actions will we take back then to lessen what's going to happen in 2 to 3 years, so that it's only a quick 2 to 3 year blip, and then we come out of it. Well, the actions
Right.
that they took is that they got in bed with Ukraine, sent our troops over there, and decided to start shooting Russians.
There you
And
go.
along those
That's right.
lines, the entire world is solidifying drawing their own lines, and mostly not in our favor. There's been multiple meetings in China of world leaders going there. Iran
Hmm.
recently again over meeting with and agreeing to use the Chinese currency instead of the U.S. dollar. And then I wake up this
Sure.
morning to news that Iran seized an oil tanker. They just
Yeah. Tell
said
me about that
this
because
oil.
I didn't see that headline. What was that? What's
Can't
going
tell
on
you
there?
too much. The release was from the Navy, who basically says, "Hey, we're probably gonna have to do something about this. We're watching it really close. We're getting ready." There was a distress call from an oil tanker,
Right.
and they said that they had been taken over by Iranian, I didn't, whatever they call themselves, Islamist, whatever the heck of Allah Akbar, whatever. They're terrorists. The entire Iranian regime are evil terrorists. Um,
Oh yeah.
but
100%.
throwing spears over at uh, the evil goat fuckers, it seems a little odd when we have our own little pony boys getting onto you know beer situations and all this other stupidity going on that's endorsed by the public schools. So
Sure.
we have a hard time throwing stones from America right now when it
Actually, I
comes
don't know that
to
we can throw any stones at Iran, and here's why. Of course, their governmental system is completely corrupt and 100% evil. But
right, evil and
statistically,
oppressive.
the fastest growing church in the world is Iran. There are more people getting saved every day in Iran than anywhere else in the world. God is doing amazing
Because
things
they're
over there.
right. There's oppression, and God is bringing His grace and His presence, and these Christians that are under pressure,
Yes.
are doing amazing and miraculous things. So I wouldn't call it a revival. It's an awakening. It's a
It's an
spiritual
awakening.
awakening. There's a
That's a better word.
happen.
Awakening is a better word. And I'll tell you right now, what Dietrich Bonhoeffer would have called cheap grace does not
Mm,
exist in Iran because in a place
mm,
like Iran, when you publicly pronounce the name of Jesus and they spray paint
mm,
that
mm.
nun on the side of your house, you are
Yeah.
murdered for your belief. You
After they rape your women and children in front of you
yeah,
and murder them, they let you
that's
go through
right.
that first. They're
Hmm.
truly evil people. We should go kill them all. Right? We really should. But
I mean, you know, what God has planned for them is probably worse than what we could ever do to them. But the fact of the matter is, I think we're
we have
supposed to
that
stand
option.
up.
That's kind of
We're supposed to
I have a
stand up.
come on, God,
Come on, come
share
on,
the fun.
come quickly, Lord Jesus, Amen. You know,
It's so quickly
um,
that I don't get the pounds first.
man, I
Come
got to
on,
tell you,
I would.
right now you look at, but I do. We went off on a little bit of a tangent right there because I think you started talking about the economic system, and I do want to go back to the actual Fed now
All
digital currency.
linked.
Say it again.
It's all linked. It's
It's all
all
linked.
connected.
It is.
It is
But
not. I mean,
specifically, I think we need to have a conversation of what it looks like to be Christian preppers when the switch gets flipped to a digital currency, to the social credit score system, to the you fall in line, you do what you're told, or you don't get to buy or sell, even if it is pre quote unquote mark of the beast, like scripture would talk about. Um, I think that
Right.
we need to
I've
be
not seen
ready.
indications that participating in the system is, somehow not biblical. I'm not seeing it yet.
Right,
We'll let you know if we do. I mean, we're looking
right,
for it. Um, I don't know that that's true yet. I'm not saying it's not. Um,
right.
I haven't see evidence either way.
I mean,
There's
ultimately, if
not
someone shows up, if someone
validated
shows up and says
evidence.
you need a chip in your forehead or a chip in your hand,
Those are
say no.
kind of the indicator. Is there some talk about that in the end
There,
times of the Bible? But
yeah, a little bit. Maybe not. The Bible doesn't talk about a chip, but a mark of some kind, right?
right,
Um, and
yeah,
and I think it's well within reason to talk about um, a scar from a placement of a chip or something like that, because it doesn't say exactly what the mark at that point looks like. But I
no,
do think that we need to be prepared as believers to say no. And in that, you need to be prepared to have
and
underground marketplaces. You need to have great
gold,
networks of
silver,
people.
ammunition, food.
Correct.
You need to
Correct.
not have to make some, when you're scrounging together and selling off stuff or gold or silver or whatever, to come
Yeah.
up with whatever nominal amount of money to pay bills,
Hmm.
you need to eliminate as many bills as possible. And that's what we're really getting at. If you're going to be prepped, eliminate outgoing needs of cash. So whether that is a mortgage payment or a rent payment or a go buy food thing, however
Yep.
you're doing that, you need to
Right.
figure out how to exist in a barter system, and you need to
Correct.
do that in a way where you're bartering with people that also understand.
Correct.
Bartering's illegal.
Right. That's exactly right. And that they
Bartering.
will,
Things like
and that they, letting the wrong people into that community will be
don't let
a
the
detriment to you. So that's why I think right now having a really good small home church, having a really good, a really good network mag, mutual assistance group, those kinds of things. The Lone Ranger is going to have a really hard time. And you and I are in that kind of boat right now. Like, we're both kind of trying to build communities. I moved back home, so I certainly know a lot more people here than there. But like, establishing those relationships, what relationships can you actually lean on and trust? Who's gonna, those are hard. Those take time to build, and trying to hit fast forward on them at this point is borderline dangerous. Um, you know,
So I have an answer to that, and it's a little bit long winded, but let me jump in with it.
Go for it. Please do.
When it comes to important things that happen in our lives, um, we we want to use the most qualified people to accomplish things for us that we can't accomplish for ourselves. And a good example of
Yes.
this would be something that requires something, with like a medical doctor or an eye doctor, right, or a dentist. Now, there are a lot of functions that they do that you and I could do ourselves, right?
Mhm.
And maybe shouldn't do and don't want to get forced into doing. But there becomes this presumption of how do you know whether someone's qualified to do this or not do this, right? And we do it because when in the case of a medical doctor, they have a certificate on the wall that says doctor. And on top of that, they have a license. It's a professional license, and you have a
Right.
professional license, and I have
Right.
a couple of professional licenses, and my wife
Yes.
has them, and your wife has them. Very
Yes.
common that we have professional licensing. And what that professional license does is provides a minimum certification that someone has ensured that this person is qualified to do this thing that matters. And we professionally license things that matter, that affect people, that can hurt people or cause great harm to the community or otherwise. All
Correct.
this to circle back and say, when you are searching for people to trust, you need to treat it in the same way. How do you trust? How do you find people that are of like mind to you or similar or who have similar ethics or goals? Because the foundations of things, what really matters is that there are some foundational ethics and values that are similar, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like if you believe in lying, cheating, and stealing, then I have a hard time doing business with you. If
Correct.
you believe that you can, gain advantage of me to, do whatever for yourself, and you have this different moral code in life, then we
There you
really
go.
shouldn't be doing business So how are we going to cut through the mess and the fog of how knowing who to deal with and how to deal with or how much to trust someone? And it really does go back to what you said, which is your small or simple church or home church or whatever you want to call it. That is a great way to know who to trust. Those should be trusted people, which is not to say within the church you can trust every person and everyone who claims to be a Christ follower. You certainly look for some fruit, right? Where
Yeah.
is their professional license as a Christian?
Yeah.
So a lot of
That's
people
right.
claim to be doctors. Well, less people doctors, right? Other things. It's a big problem in the paralegal profession. It's a
Yeah.
big problem in my wife's profession of real estate appraisers right now. There's lots of people running around claiming that they do the same thing without the license. So you
That's
can
right.
see the license, right? So I can put my coffee and book open on Instagram, and I might see a license as a Christian,
Right.
but is it a fake license, right? Where's the fruit in their life? So
There you go.
what are they doing? How do they act? Are they around people? Right? There are ways to verify
Sure.
the claim of being a Christ follower. And
Yes.
so you have to use that spiritual discipline, and the big thing is the spiritual authority of discernment that comes from the Holy
Right.
Spirit, because
Right.
there's one person, one entity, one thing, right? There's one God that you cannot fool. You can't
Correct.
fool God. He knows your heart. He knows who you are on the inside, right? We say people are mostly good. They mean to well balance out the good versus the evil, whatever, all the bullshit
Right.
of karma that's not true. Um,
Right. Right.
God sees through all of that, and he
Yes.
knows your heart. You're generally good, generally not good, whatever. Well, the
Yes.
thing is, those who follow and listen and let their lives be led by God, God speaks to them and they let them
Sure.
know other people that can be trusted as well. There's some
Absolutely.
hint in the Bible that there will be a sign in the end of days that other Christians will know other Christians and only other followers will see it. Right.
Mm,
And so that's
yeah.
been played out in some books and it's been twisted and it's kind of been, Hollywoodized, right? So it would work and make
Right.
sense in a movie. But there is some foundational truth in the fact that in the end of days, there is an indication that we will be able to know who his other followers are. Now,
Correct.
that could be like a rapture thing. Maybe we're not even around for that. I don't know
Sure.
what that's going to look like. I'm not claiming to, but the
Hey,
point
hope
is
for the
there's a
best.
vessel for that.
Plan for the worst. Hope for the best. Plan for the worst.
Always a good plan. And if nothing else, I want those who follow me. So if we go under the assumption that you and I are gone, we're raptured out of here, and it's the worst of times, and there's some really, really bad stuff going down, and there's some,
Yeah.
new people that come. I want them to find God and find relationship through
Yes.
the videos, food, books, and other things that I have left for them.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I want to be an encouragement for
Yeah.
them to press on because they're going to be in some tough, tough times. They're the ones that are going to have to make these eat, no eat, kill, be killed decisions.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
And they're not going to have the benefit of a history of growing up and being, raised in this. At least most of them, assumably,
Correct.
would not.
Correct.
And so the baby Christians is what we call somebody who is new to the faith. And
Yes.
baby Christians are wild and crazy, and they still believe that everything in the Bible is actually true for the most part, which is fun and exciting, and a
Right.
lot of miracles tend to happen around them because they just blindly face. We're like, I'm supposed to heal that guy. Let's go lay hands and heal that guy, and
That's right.
it's a ton of fun to follow because
What if we
most of the
spit
time
in
the
the
guy is
mud?
healed. So,
What if we spit in the mud and we put it in their eyeballs? Like, hey,
yeah,
I've heard of it.
exactly.
It
Let's do it.
happens.
And as a pastor, you know what you do? Go for it.
Go for it,
Go
buddy.
for it. Pray with your eyes open. Enjoy the miracle. Oh, it's so much
Mhm.
fun being around baby Christians like that. It's a ton of fun. So I
That's
just
awesome.
imagine that a lot of end times is going to be, you know, some AR toting, vacuum sealed food eating, mud spitting and spreading baby Christians, right?
Yep. 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 That's right.
What
That's
was it
right.
getting back to the whole point? Look for that professional license and that certificate or proof
Sure.
of Christian. It comes through Holy Spirit discernment, which, if you want God to speak to you, you got to be reading your Bible. Like we're going to get back to our old preachers. You got to open the word and, make
Well,
sure
let
you
me
post it to Instagram so other people know that you're in the word and,
Yep.
make
Let me
sure to
get
get
back. Let
the
me
page
let me
changed.
let me jump in. Let me jump in. So I agree with all of that.
All that.
100%. Phil, I preach sometimes. Phil gets to preach sometimes. We're going to preach sometimes, and I love it. And that's he nailed it. Let me give you an example of how that works today in my life. Okay, so today in my life, I'm building my house. Okay, but there's a component to my house that I don't want to build. I don't trust myself. I've never done it before. Okay, we're going to do an ICF basement.
A
Some
ladder?
might call some might call it a bunker, right? And well, it's gonna be pretty public on my channel. So the fact of the matter is, like, it's just gonna be there. But when it goes into lockdown, good luck getting
Hey,
inside.
it's somewhere in the state, that you live in North Dakota.
Somewhere the state that I live in North Dakota. That's exactly right. So anyway, so this guy, I've never met him before. I saw some YouTube videos. There's a channel called Lake Lot Build, and he built a house for a dude, and it was an ICF house. Okay, and this guy came to my property today, and I contacted him because I had seen him on a few other channels that he's an ICF professional. I've never done ICF
Did you make him
insulated.
sign an NDA?
No, but I probably should actually. But
You should have read that book.
yeah, that's exactly right. So anyway, it was great. Guy jumps out of the truck. He was right on time early, and well, you gotta love that, especially in a construction guy, right?
I
Construction
do.
guys. Yeah, I love that.
You
That
know,
was I'm in the middle of feeding chickens because he's 10 minutes early, right? And I was like, this is awesome. I love this, right? We walk my property and we take a look at what we're gonna do, and in the course of the conversation, I just said something about, I don't know what your proclivities are, man, but this is where I land, talking about building a basement, right? A lockdown basement, right? And I was like, I don't know what your proclivities are, but I'll tell you right now. And he jumped right in, and he was like, "Oh, you were in ministry. Oh, like you love Jesus." He's like, let me tell you, he shares his testimony with me. Like we start talking. He doesn't advertise. There's no Christian fish on the side of his truck. There's no cross in his logo. But when he starts to talk about Jesus, the passion and the like, and we immediately had a connection. We immediately had a bond inside of the kingdom of heaven, and he was telling me about these healings that are happening in his church, and it was just really exciting. I was like, man, this is great news, and so he really opened up with me. I really opened up with him. He gave me a great price. I don't think I got any kind of special pastor price. I wouldn't want one. I want to support a good man's business, and so, but I'll tell you right now, that's the one of the ways that you're going to know. You're going to know when you have authentic, real conversation that you're going to say something in a way, and they're going to bite
because
on
you'll
it. They're
feel
going
a
to,
nudge. You'll
yeah.
feel a nudge. You'll be like, should I? Yeah, I feel like I should throw something out there. Let me throw something. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, this guy, I'm going to be spending quite a bit of money, right? With this guy, and he's going to be spending a lot of time on my property. I kind of felt like I needed to be honest with like who I am, what I believe, to enough of it that he could expect, that I'm weird, that I love Jesus, right? And so anyway, it was really, really cool the way that went down. And I really enjoyed being around him. I enjoyed getting to know him. I'm going to really enjoy working alongside of him to get my house built in the next couple of months. So very, very cool stuff. That's the way things will happen. And then you, like Phil's talking about, you vet that scenario. Well, I've seen the quality of work that this guy's produced because you can watch it
Right.
on YouTube and you can see what he does. I even got to see a pretty major mistake happen in one of the videos and how he dealt with it, the way he made it right. And see, that to me is more valuable than perfection, because I think perfect is the enemy of good. And the fact that he was able to rebound and do things really well, and also, like, as I was telling him about certain aspects of my plans, he was like, okay, so this part actually needs to be, you don't put this in the videos. Like, don't, like, this piece of what we're doing, like, you don't want anybody to know about that. And I was like, yes, that is correct. And so I was very, very appreciative that he understood that, and that he was intuitive enough, you know so that's pretty exciting. So I'm very thrilled. I'm really, really pumped that this man is going to be working on my house, and I just wanted to give that example. So if you're interested in watching the house build, check out Free State Homestead. Plug. The shameless plug. And check out Free State Homestead on YouTube, and hopefully on Rumble soon as well. And we are going to be building really, really soon. And so that whole process is going to be online and for you to watch, and you can check it out. And, I'll have some things to say about bunkers. There's probably going to be a trip to Texas to the bunker factory to go buy my doors and stuff like that. That's going to be really cool. I'm excited about all that. So
Good.
eyes peeled. But the
Yeah, that's
Lord will
exciting.
reveal relationship to you. He will reveal relationship to you.
He will. And I joke about the Instagram book and coffee, but I only partially joke because I myself have been stuck in these circles of professed and proclaiming Christians, especially, you and me both, because it's especially thick amongst the pastoral leadership and those who lead and work in churches.
Yeah.
Lot of non-Christians in those groups. So,
Hmm.
like recently, that when we initially started to settle in this area that we're in, we started to plug in with the local, missionary organizations and some of the churches that are around here, and that's our go-to to start to try to make relationship with people.
Right.
And ultimately, we were, ostracized from those groups because, as I found out behind my back, what was said was, he's the crazy pastor that believes that when he talks to God, that God actually talks back to him.
Right.
Be
Right.
wary of those wolves that will get up and preach on a Sunday, but have never heard from God.
And quite
Who the
frankly,
ones who say, I don't know how we could know from God. Like, we don't really know. The Holy Spirit's not alive today. That was for a different time and maybe in the future. If they don't have a real relationship. So I don't know
mhm.
what they're doing other than leading you astray.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
avoid those. And you can identify them because they're prominent brick and mortar churches in the area.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly
So
right.
that's how you can know you're probably in the wrong place. You go by and you see like a church and it's a building, and it's probably the wrong place.
Yeah, I
Just saying.
totally agree. Let's change gears just a little bit here, because I think we do
Do
need
it.
to talk about a
Let's do
couple
it.
of more things in the realm
Come on.
of
What else? What else do we jump on here?
well, evidently there was a pretty substantial, the deepest into Russia, that an attack has been launched. So Petersburg, a pretty big weapons facility, was attacked yesterday,
I
and
didn't.
that's way deep into Russia.
Who are
So
we playing? Did
expect some pretty crazy retaliation for that.
you said it
There's
was
a
yesterday?
Yes, I believe so. Yesterday, or well, it might have been the day before, because
Was
it was
yesterday
reported
or
on
the day
yesterday.
before was when I got the alert about Biden making nuclear threats back to North Korea because I don't know what North Korea did. I never followed up on it.
China
But
was
there was some
providing
event that
was China was talking about providing nukes to North Korea. So,
okay. Yeah.
mhm.
Biden basically said if you launch any nukes, we will anywhere, we will nuke you to death.
Yeah,
Which is
which
what
is
we
the
should
right
say.
response.
But
Hey,
yeah.
that might be the first time I've ever agreed with that
I actually
bumbling
feel
old
a little
idiot.
bit better. I feel a little bit better that China's providing the nukes because I mean, China, I have faith, can probably land their intercontinental ballistic missile, right? Like maybe within 100 miles of what they're shooting at. Maybe,
Sure,
maybe.
sure.
North Korea could be thousands of miles off.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that
man.
is what concerns me. So, like, they're trying to shoot New York or Portland or Seattle or LA or, some of these other, or Anchorage, one of these places. And for the most
Mhm.
part, I'm going like, hey, I kind of want to shoot them too. I don't
Yeah,
blame you. But you might miss and hit my area because they're
right.
really suck at this.
That's exactly right. That's
Or the
exactly
other
right.
thing too is they might actually hit it because we defend not the entire country, in case you didn't know that, we defend our majorly populated areas. So we're all set up to shoot down and do something about something that's gonna hit LA.
Well, I think
Uh,
if people want more information about what Phil just said, you should check out. You should Google something called the nuclear sponge. The nuclear sponge is a doctrine that we have. The reason why the majority of our nuclear arsenal are in 5 states in kind of the middle to western half of the country is because
right.
that theoretically, at the time when it was being developed, Russia would strike those areas instead of our population base areas to try to shut down our nuclear arsenal.
The idea was
And
that a
so,
first strike would go to our, capabilities to launch back at them with the idea that
right.
maybe they could stop retaliation. Yes.
Yes. So, Infographic Show has a really good, about 10-minute deal on the nuclear sponge. You should watch it. It's important. So,
Alright.
yeah. So you're right. You're
I'm
absolutely right. North Korea is
our
just
intended responses to North Korea than I am other things because that was the part of the stuff that I was trained up on, so
100%. A
I don't
hundred
I don't
percent.
know, like, I don't know what the response is supposed to be for Russia. I was never really part of that one.
Right, right, right. But there was this major attack in Russia that was the
Right.
deepest into the Russian perimeter that we've seen yet. Expect some kind of
So
retaliation response from Putin, and this is where we want to start watching for the tactical nuke. This is where we want to start watching for, the barrage bombing of Ukraine, which will then potentially pull NATO in, which will then potentially pull us in, and we're already in, guys.
public.
Like we're already in, but in a way that
Just
a
like we were,
kinetic way.
Cambodia and Laos and lying for years. That's what's going on right now. That whole Air
There you go.
America time period of Vietnam. We're doing that right now in Ukraine.
Right.
So,
Evergreen Airlines. Check out Evergreen Airlines. I knew one of the pilots for Evergreen Airlines.
yeah, that's a sad story. Sad family
That
history.
sad,
Um,
man. That's good. That's bad news right there. So anyway,
so
there's that. It's gardening season. I
there's
hope
that.
you guys are paying attention. Check out Epic Gardening. There's a lot of really great YouTube resources on gardening. Get out there and grow your gardens.
So
I
let's
brought
pause
pepper
and
plants
talk
back.
about let's riff on gardening a little bit,
Yeah,
because we've talked about on our show before. It's it sounds easy, like you put seed in ground, put water, walk away.
it's
Um,
not
it's just not as easy as it seems like it should be. It is something you have to learn through experience. Even watching hundreds of YouTube videos. I don't know if you believe know this or not, but some people are not all the way truthful on YouTube.
right.
Um, and a lot of people will let you make all the mistakes that they make and never take down the old videos,
Yes,
because they're making money on them. So,
correct,
everything with the salt, but you need to do it for yourself. And not only that, but if you're really new to gardening, here's something that you really, really need to know. I cannot grow the same things here that the real
correct,
Kirk can grow where he is. Even though North
correct.
Dakota is a very similar climate to a lot of Alaska,
Right.
um, he cannot grow the same things. He should not grow them at the same time. He should not grow them in the same way.
Yes,
Water's different, soil's different, sun is different. Like, you
correct.
have to learn how to do this in your own area. And
Yes,
unfortunately, the crowd that kind of does this well is the greeny hippy dippy crowd. They're really
it's
good at
true.
growing shit.
Although
And it's hard
I would recommend
with them.
taking a look at American Homestead. That guy is a gun-toting, Jesus-loving, homeschooling like badass, and he's super great at
Yeah.
gardening. This is my plan. These are not mine, but this is what I'm building. So these are ICF, or not ICF. These are
Totes.
IBC totes,
BC totes.
and international bulk containers is what these are called. And so we've
Put
got
fish.
enough to make 8 of these. So I'm very excited about that. So that
uh,
will be some videos
Raised
coming
beds are
forthwith.
way to go nearly everywhere. And
Yes.
there's lots of adaptions to your raised bed to do lots of cool stuff.
I
whether
like the
it's
fact that I can
or,
stick forks underneath those with a tractor and move them wherever I want. That
yeah,
I thought very
you can
much
freeze them
about.
and put them inside.
Right. Yeah,
The
exactly
sun
right.
is, the sun moves, doesn't always come up in the same spot, but your trees are in the same spot.
Yes.
So, you know, being able to move stuff or, change your grazing area or whatever. I mean, man, it's a great idea. It's
Yes.
brilliant. And the next best thing is to, find a way to integrate some hydroponics in there somehow and automatic watering systems and, taking
Well, so
advantage of some of the
the
beasts and feed the fishies and all that.
the nice thing about those are those will be self-watering. So the bottom half of that is a tank of water, and that your garden will be able to wick out of the bottom. And so that's really, really exciting. So when you water from the bottom up, roots, or no, I'm sorry, weeds need to get water from the top down. So when you water your plants from the bottom up, you don't have nearly as much weed problem. The weeds can't
Sure.
drop their roots.
And you're a beginning gardener like me that kinda sucks
Yes.
at it, and you don't know when the weed grows up and you're looking at your plants, you're looking at your weeds, and you're going, "I don't know which one's which, so I'm not gonna pull them." I have multiple times pulled my plants and left the weeds. Um, and then once screw up in that way, then you are feeding the weeds with the John Wick method, and I agree, the John Wick method is definitely the most exciting and best way to go.
That's true. That is true. So I think right now is a great time. Stock up. You buy more seeds than you need. Buy
Oh,
more seeds than
we've
you
been
can
buying
grow this year.
vacuum
Yeah,
seal them and throw them in the freezer. The
absolutely,
enemy
100%.
of, those seeds is condensation, so don't put
Yes,
them in the freezer, out of the freezer, freezer, out of the freezer. I've kinda gotten on
right,
my wife about that because she's like, "Oh, I ran out of freezer room, so I pulled your seeds," and I went, "Ugh, I'd rather you, like, pull something else." Um,
right,
don't go back and forth. Once they're in until you need them.
right, right.
So,
Absolutely. So there's all of that. I mean, I think ultimately
if
right
you're buying it on
now,
Amazon, buy 3 to 5 times what you think you need because probably
yes.
only a tenth of them will work.
And I would say don't buy your seeds on Amazon. I would say because I don't know if you ever
I
saw
don't know.
Secondhand Lions. It's a great
Either
movie called
that
Secondhand Lions. You're going to
or
end up with a bunch of corn.
so true.
Yeah.
I gotta watch
Anyway,
that again. Oh,
it's
man,
time.
that's a
It's
true
time to watch.
story.
It's time to
That's
watch.
based on a true story.
It's time to watch Secondhand Lions again. So
It
get a
is.
reputable seed company. Again, I would point you toward American Homesteader. He's got a partnership with a seed company. He's got a really great packet, especially if you're in the South to Midwest. He's got a really great packet that's really kind of tailored for our climate. There's some
Yeah,
really neat stuff. Farm America has got some stuff about Alaska. You could check out, gardening in Alaska and all those things.
yeah.
Like Phil said, what you can grow, when you can grow it, is going to be very tailored to your zone and your climate. And
But
I'm
on
lucky to have a massive growing
the
season and
gardeners
lots of water and terrible soil. So, like I gotta do a lot of soil
right.
mitigation.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, like we were saying, that crowd tends to be a different crowd from us, right? They're kind of different priorities. Because of that, they have different goals in their
Right,
gardening. Not all of them are doing it because they think we're not going to have food next year. Not all of them are doing it sustainably. Not all of them um, believe that they're not going to be able to order seeds again next year.
right.
So the idea of heirloom seeds or repeatable crops or, you should grow this because it looks pretty and fancy and my
Yes,
latest fad diet, requires it. That
yes,
is a different goal than this variety grows well here, quick and fast and easy, is heirloom and repeatable and will hold up well to being canned for 20 years. So
yes,
there's, you
yes.
know, just pay attention to that. That's all
Now,
I'm
I will
saying.
say this. This might sound very controversial in the prepping world or the
Love it.
or even the
What is
or even the homesteading world. If you've never gardened before, if you've never grown
yeah,
anything,
yeah.
don't grow heirloom stuff this year. Heirloom stuff is harder to grow, harder to sprout,
Yep.
harder to germinate. It's
Yep.
harder to
We're not gonna see
the
seeds
the
anyway.
the hybridized stuff is going to grow stronger, be more pest resistant. That's why it was hybridized. Okay, So if you want to dip your toes into the gardening world, I would say don't, I mean, buy yourself some homestead or some heirloom seeds for next year, and get yourself some hybrid stuff for this year. Maybe grow a little bit of heirloom stuff just for practice, but your primary focus should just go ahead and be the hybrid stuff, be the GMO stuff, so that you can dip your toes into gardening, figure out your watering system, figure out your fertilizing system, all those kinds of things. You will be really extra frustrated. The first couple years, I only did heirloom tomatoes, and I sucked at it, and it was really, really bad. And I didn't have enough plants to really make the production that I wanted. I didn't have enough pollinators, so I did really badly, and it frustrated me. Would have been very easy to just go, I'm never gardening again. That sucked. I don't have a green thumb. When really try
Yeah.
something easier to garden.
Yeah. Well, and you get in tight with these greeny hippy dippies, and it's good to map out where they are and what they have.
Correct. Correct. Well, hey, listen, I'm sorry to cut us off tonight, but we're going to be a little about 7 minutes short this evening. But we've got some things that we got to go do. Got an open house, homeschool open house, that we're going to go check out and go look at and support my niece and nephew. But I just want to tell you guys that I love you. I hope you guys are prepping. I hope you guys are in your Bibles, looking at what God has to say to you. And ultimately, I think in the last 2 minutes, I'm going to bounce this back to Phil to wrap us up. I would say the biggest thing you need to be looking out for right now is the collapse of the U.S. dollar. It's got minutes left. It is 100% on life support. And so
Yep.
if you've got dollars, I would not be trying to drain your bank. I would not be trying to pull your money out of the bank. I would try to spend your money. If you have it, get it into tangible
Uh,
goods. Would you agree? Wrap us up, Phil.
get it out of debt if you can, if at all possible. Get it out of debt. Um, and it's good to have some cash, but just be ready to move that cash quickly when the time comes.
Hmm.
And it is never a bad idea to buy gold and silver, ever, ever, ever. So
Right.
buy it. Just expect someone to come knocking on your door at some point and have to defend yourself against three-letter agencies that say that gold, silver we know you bought, we want it.
Right. Exactly
Thank you.
right. So, all right. You love you guys, Phil. Thank you. Have a great night. We appreciate you. Let me get our little outro action going on here, and we are gone. Get prepped.